Happy Friday, guys. Good morning. I'm actually excited this morning because I'm approaching the end of the gospel. I've already finished Matthew and Mark. I have Luke to finish and then finishing off with John, all the accounts of the gospels. And then afterwards, we have this guy named Paul. Initially, when going into it, I knew Paul wrote letters. I decided to go ahead and just read a little into his letters, right? First time I read these letters, I saw the usage of I a lot. And that sprung so much flags within me. Because I don't like the usage of I whenever someone uses the usage of I. And so I was just like, wait a minute, this guy's using I a lot. This guy's full of himself. I was getting this egotistical, this huge inflated ego, more righteous than thou. And then he was writing like, you should do this. And then it brought up was like, okay, why are you saying these things, right? Where's the validity of what you're saying? Why should I listen to you? Who are you to convict me of all these things? Because truthfully, I felt convicted, okay? Can you imagine this dude with such a high ego? Who is he to tell me what to do? And he's literally convicted me of some of the things that I'm doing in my life. Now, here's the thing. I took it to Jesus and I was like, hey, Lord, this guy, who is this dude? Who is this dude? Why is he speaking like this? I'll be honest, I was kind of heated, but there was two choices at that moment. Be impulsive and keep Paul at that label that was initially created, or you can be more wise and actually look into who is this Paul, right? What's his story? Why is he talking the way he does? I mean, even when he was talking, he was like talking in circles. And I was reading this, I was like, all right, it's an egotistical man who's writing about what he thinks I should do while also talking in circles. The decision made after sitting with Jesus was, well, obviously to go down the wise path. Who was Paul? From my understanding, Paul grew up in a heavily Greek philosophy influenced culture, which would explain why he writes the way he does. Whenever he's writing, there would be counter arguments that he would probably foresee when he's writing, and he'd answer that the next sentence over, and then he'd go back to what he's saying. The reason why he's using I a lot is because the letters to Paul is actually a testimony to how Jesus impacted his life. If it's a testimony, right? Think about the testimonies that the believers of Christ are giving to all the other people, all the other non-believers. When Paul was giving his testimony, props to this guy, he was giving it to mainly the Gentiles, which at that point in time was the biggest enemy of the church. His whole mission was to spread the gospel to the Gentiles. Oh, crazy. Them being the enemy of the church, but not just spreading the gospel, but with a huge sense of urgency, which is why it gives off that fiery, convicting tone. But then you have to wonder, it's like, whenever we're sharing our testimony to non-believers or people who haven't met Jesus, is that how we come off too? Do we come off as prideful and egotistical and give off that more righteous than thou theme to other people? Because it makes sense. It makes sense. Whenever you're sharing your testimony, are you going to speak in the third person? Probably not. You're going to use I a lot. You're literally saying how Jesus affected my life. I'm putting it out on the table. I'm not going to impose it. This is my testimony. That testimony alone is enough to get people to feel that a negative initial feeling. And if that be the case, was Paul aware of this, and what did he do in order to anticipate, say, being the Greek influenced writer that he is, what did he do in order to answer that anticipation? He does write that he will boast more about his weakness. And I think it's more so to not only just humble himself, but to also explain to the person, I am just the same as you. The only difference is that Jesus has impacted my life. I'm laying my testimony out on the table for you, and you can do whatever you want with it. If we were to follow Paul's footsteps in terms of sharing our testimony, it's important to keep in mind that whenever someone hearing our testimony and how Jesus has impacted our life, that the possibility of that initial reaction is extremely high. And that to know to counteract it is to emphasize how Jesus saved you from your wrongdoings. There is no one perfect on this world. Everyone comes to Jesus with a huge thorn in their side, with a huge problem. So to follow Paul's footsteps, as for myself, 3 things: homosexuality, idolization of the body, idolization of money. And if anyone were to come up to me and be like, oh, you're so self-righteous, you think you're better than... These are the 3 things that I'm leading with. If you want to go further into it, then I can. So as long as it brings you closer to Jesus. Because I'm telling you that I'm just another human being. Do I have wings? Am I levitating in the air? Am I doing all these supernatural stuff? No. I'm another human being that Jesus has impacted. I'm sharing the gospel with you because he is the way, the truth, and the life. By his life, death, and resurrection, he has saved you from your sins. All you got to do is surrender your life to him, believe in him, live your life in accordance to how he has instructed us to live, and you'll make it. That's something to keep in mind whenever we're sharing our testimonies. You can learn something from Paul. Now, as for his validity, who is this Apostle Paul? He wasn't among the 12 disciples. Why would I believe in him? Apparently, on the road to Damascus, he had an encounter with Christ, and he pretty much self-commissioned Paul into spreading the gospel. I honestly had this question the other day of, Jesus ascended into heaven, and the angel said he will return to earth the same way as he ascended to heaven. So in my mind, I was like, so there will be no more appearances of Christ until he comes back again from the same spot he ascended into heaven. Hearing that Christ appeared to Paul, it was like, okay, maybe the argument isn't accurate. I mean, all things are possible with God. All things are possible with Jesus. So they do what they do, and God and Jesus is everywhere. They do what they want. As for the validity of it, so Paul was met by Jesus on the road to Damascus, was self-commissioned. On top of that, all the other apostles approve of all his works, and his messages and letters spread so far and wide in such a short time. That's more than enough for, at least me personally, to believe that Paul was legit. Paul is indeed an apostle that is worth listening to, is worth understanding, is worth trying to figure out the message that he's trying to put out there. Funny enough, Peter even wrote that Paul's letters were kind of complicated. I mean, bro stumped the rock of the church. Like, geez. Honestly, if it was like a game of basketball and we got to choose between Paul or Peter, I'm sorry, I'm going Peter. I feel like Peter's the type of guy who's just like, all right, you take the basketball and you put it in the basket. That's how you score points. You prevent Paul's team from doing the same to us. And then the more we do that, we'll win the game. Whereas Paul is like, well, in order to shoot the basketball, your hand has to be in this kind of formation. It has to do this movement from the elbow, but not the shoulder, but it also have to jump and use your knees. Take 3 steps, but not do 3 steps. But you got to jump at the second step, kind of glide. That's what I think Team Paul is, okay? On a basketball team, I'm going with Peter. It's already a win for me. That's been Friday's message, a little short, a little fun, a little light. Hopefully you guys have a good end of the work week today. Once again, if you're working throughout the week, huge thank you to you guys. You guys are literally the ones that are making this world go round. As always, keep Jesus close, follow him, stay safe out there, and God bless you.